Biker's daughter was born blind until a homeless boy pulled out something unbelievable. In a world that often feels cold and indifferent, sometimes the most extraordinary miracles come from the most unexpected places. This is the story of Emma Maddox, a little girl born into darkness, and Daniel, a homeless boy with eyes that saw what even the best doctors missed. Emma was only 6 years old, but she had already lived her entire life without light. She was the daughter of Bruce Maddox, president of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, a man feared by many, yet utterly broken by his inability to give his daughter the one thing she needed most: sight. For years, Bruce poured everything he had, money, time, hope, into finding a cure. He took Emma to specialists across the country. Top ophthalmologists examined her eyes again and again, baffled. Her eyes are perfectly healthy, they'd say. There's no medical reason for her blindness. But Emma couldn't see. And every night she'd rub her right eye, wincing in quiet discomfort no one understood. 3 miles away, beneath a bridge near the city park, 10-year-old Daniel slept on cardboard boxes, wrapped in a tattered blanket. He hadn't known his parents long. They were gone before he turned 5. But survival had sharpened his senses. He learned to read people not by their words, but by the way their eyes flickered, how their shoulders slumped, or how they held their pain behind forced smiles. One afternoon, as Bruce pushed Emma on a swing in the park, her laughter echoing like music, Daniel watched from a distance. He noticed something others didn't. Not just the way Emma tilted her head toward sound, but the faint, almost invisible shimmer on the surface of her right eye. It wasn't a cataract, it wasn't a tumor. It was a thin, translucent membrane, so delicate it looked like morning dew on glass. Most would have missed it, but Daniel had spent years watching the world with desperate attention. He knew that tiny film was blocking the light. Heart pounding, he stepped forward. Approaching a biker, especially the biker, was dangerous. But Emma's smile reminded him of his little sister, who died in a shelter fire 2 winters ago. He couldn't walk away. "Sir," Daniel said, voice trembling but clear, "I think I know why your daughter can't see." Bruce narrowed his eyes, muscles tensing, but then he saw it, the sincerity in the boy's gaze, the absence of fear masked by courage. Against every instinct, he listened. Daniel explained what he'd seen. Skeptical but desperate, Bruce agreed to let him try. With hands steadier than any surgeon's, he leaned close. Using a clean handkerchief and gentle pressure, he peeled away the nearly invisible membrane. And then it happened. Light flooded into Emma's world. She gasped, eyes wide, tears streaming down her cheeks as colors exploded around her for the first time. The green of the trees, the blue of the sky, and her father's face, rough, tattooed, tear-streaked, but the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. "Daddy," she whispered, reaching out to touch his cheek, "you have eyes like mine." Bruce fell to his knees, sobbing, pulling both Emma and Daniel into his arms. That night, Bruce didn't go back to the clubhouse alone. He brought Daniel home, not to a shelter, not to the streets, but to his family. At the Hells Angels compound, Bruce called an emergency meeting. The brothers gathered, leather jackets gleaming under dim lights, tattoos telling stories of loss and loyalty. When Bruce told them what Daniel had done, how this homeless boy had given his daughter the world, a silence fell over the room. Then Dutch, the vice president, stood up. "We've all been outsiders once. Looks like we just found our newest brother." From that day on, Daniel was not alone. He had a room, warm meals, new clothes, and a dozen uncles who taught him to ride safely, fix engines, and stand tall. But more than that, he had belonging. And every night, without fail, Emma would knock on his door, sometimes with a drawing, sometimes with cookies a maca, Bruce's sister-in-law, had baked, sometimes just to sit beside him and talk about the stars she could now see. This isn't just a story about restored vision. It's about how kindness sees what medicine cannot, how compassion doesn't wear a uniform, it wears a heart, and how family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the boy under the bridge who dares to believe he can change a life. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances, in miracles hidden in plain sight, please like, share, and subscribe to ACA Story Tales. Your support helps us bring more real, emotional, and hopeful stories to millions around the world. And don't forget to drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this story today. Thank you for believing in light, even when it seems darkest.